My name is Albert Moses. I am 18 years old. I'm a Muckleshoot member. I have lived on a reservation my whole life. This film is about our history, the history we need to know. About 10 years ago, the U.S. Forest Service began negotiations with Weyerhaeuser to exchange a little more than 6,000 acres of Forest Service land in the green and green water drainages for approximately 30,000 acres of Weyerhaeuser and Company lands in Skagit, Snohomish, King, Kittitas, Pierce, Yakima, and Lewis counties. We were told that the official purpose of this land exchange would be so that the U.S. Forest Service could consolidate ownership of its lands to improve the government's land management efficiency. Nobody asked the Muckleshoot people for a long time what they thought about the land exchange proposal. Much of the land that would change hands between the Forest Service and Weyerhaeuser lies within the Muckleshoot's usual and accustomed traditional areas. All of our areas are full of sacred sites and our cultural history.
At one of our hunting meetings, the Forest Service District Ranger told us that the tribe should try and get some input on this land exchange, but that it was going to go through whether the tribe liked it or not. After that, people at the tribe started really paying attention and meeting to talk about what to do. The elders came together with some of our tribal leaders and decided it was time to bring elders and the Muckleshoot youth together and take them up to Mule Springs and tell the stories of our old ways.
Before I ever come up in these hills, my grandfather used to tell me that spring down there. Said you go down there first thing in the morning. Go down there and wash up. That opens your eyes for the day, and you can go around here, and after you clean up and wash up with that water, said you'll be recognized by the spirits of these hills. You'll be covered, you'll be watched over. That's like a protection, something like, I guess you'd say, holy water or something. You take that, and it protects you from all the evil things of this world. They used to make you do that the first thing. I never did know why he told us that. But it took a long time. And he was a man that told you things, then he wouldn't tell you the answer. For a long time, then all of a sudden, then he'll bring it out to you and tell you why he had told you these things. I guess he'd do that just to see if he was going to do that, see if he was going to follow the ways of the old Indians. That same way it's when you're traveling all over these hills. You're traveling, hunting or something, you come to this water. And you'd make a noise before you even take a drink of that water, so you scare the evil away, so you wouldn't take that into your body. You go up there to that water like that, and you drink. That's how they traveled these hills. They used the ways of the old Indians, I guess, what they taught them. And these hills here brings memories back to me. We used to camp right up there.
We camped all the way around this place. We about close to 100 around here. And I used to come up a long time ago. That was in 1924. There was about 7 men. Used to camp here and used to dig a little hole over there, a little well for that spring water. We used to water our horses and get our water. It's a nice little spring, big ditch in there. And the people used to sing and get together and talk, pick berries, dry meat. Had a big bonfire here. I don't know where it was, right here somewhere. And used to dry meat on an open fire, cook deer meat, elk meat, whatever you like, bear meat. They get bear meat. Cook all that for winter use. Later, that's how we preserve our food. Same with berries, we dried it to keep for the winter. That much I know.
I like to say something to these children. All this campground was happy with all the older people. You see these trees, the berries we used to pick, that was our refrigerator, the boughs of those trees. You could save berries a long time that way. That's how that made you just stay here for weeks and pick berries in baskets like that, big baskets, or they go home. And all the people used to be here shared with one another, helped one another. They didn't say, I'm going to do this for you. They done it. Made everybody happy. That's all I got to say to these children. I hope one day they'll realize what happened to our older people. Back in the late 20s and 30s, last time I ever camped around here. Today's a stove. Side tagaito, yadalo the tisbada. Tell the tisbada, sabat, lalo Pacheco.
What do you say?
Oh yes, when I was up here, there was only one other person, and that was Frenchie Lozier. And he taught us how to cook bread in the ground.
Yeah, just like this stuff here.
Yeah.
And he told us a story about a bunch of the men used to come up here too, and they'd get together and they'd decide, well, this area needs to have a flash fire. So they set it afire so that the berries would grow good in 2 years. And then one year they started a fire and it got away from them and it burned a whole bunch. He was laughing about it yet.
That bridge he was talking about, it's like old fire like this. They used to, they call it potato.
Oh yeah.
They used to
Bread.
put it in the, what's that, then put it under the ashes.
Ashes, yeah, hot ashes.
Then let it bake under there, then pull it out, and it have that kind of a floury dust on it, just dust it off like that.
Good.
Clean.
Needed. Same with potatoes, eh? You stick
Yeah.
it right in there.
Yeah, stick
Cook
them right down
potatoes
under there and bake
right in
them
the
under
hot
there.
fire. Ashes, the hot ashes. Hot ground, I guess what you call it. Well, it's something like this.
It's before they must have had a fire right here. They must have had a big fire right here.
Yeah, it could have been.
Might be Georgie's camp.
Around this campground, a lot of the Indians used to bury their cooking
Yeah.
before they left. Come back next year, be that.
Oh, yeah.
He said where they used to camp there, they buried their stuff here. That's what we got up there. We buried all our stuff that we couldn't pack back down the hill and just bury it there and leave it there.
And sometimes you hang it up on the limb.
There's a lot of stuff there that's buried there, that covered up that
Yeah, that's all of it up there. All of mine, it
wherever
gets
you camp.
where our camp used to be.
It's something these kids, the older people, they all want to come to the mountain before they die.
Yeah.
she says, Sonny, I want to go up that mountain one more time. He says, last time. That was his last trip up here.
I hope that's not true. This might be our last one.
I stayed up here a lot of times by myself in this camp. Only one time I got scared. Great big bear come from that way, coming up this way, and I kept watching it. He kept coming. I didn't know what to do. I didn't have no gun or nothing. Well, I got up. That picked up big limb. The old time you say, take some limbs and raise it up high. Make it look like you're big. Run. That's what I did. I got two big limbs. And I bellowed out just as loud as I could. So I turned around to call. That felt better. But the bear, he never gives up. He went around, made a circle. He's going to come back around this way, check me up again. I remember what my old timer said. So I went down and waited for him. There he comes, sneak. And I bellowed again. Boy, outsmarted him. That's the only time. One good story of the camp. This is the camp story. I was by myself.
There's not too much I can say about this place. I was only here once, and I was 14. We climbed up that hill. I thought we'd never reach here. It was just seemed like straight up. Hang on to roots and climb and climb and climb. My mother said it was 3 miles straight up, but I see signs along the way 5 miles. And it seemed like 100 when you were climbing those hills. I didn't think I could make it. When we got here, we picked, and then that night where we camped, a terrible storm hit. And my older brother was with me. He's with us. He was a year older than me, and my mother made him get up. It was storming so hard he had to dig trenches around our tent so we could sleep and not sleep in the water. The storm was so bad. But the reason that many of them didn't make it, the depression hit, and it was a very hard time for all of us people. We weren't used to that. We were used to a plenty in the 20s. It seemed like everyone had a job and well taken care of. We didn't know what welfare was. But when that depression hit, the bottom fell out of everything. My family broke up, and that was the month that my family broke up that we came up here to the hills because my mother dearly loved them. And her mother loved them. And I was telling a story about my grandmother. I don't know whether she was an Indian doctor or what she was, but she followed the smokehouse ways. And she always had her sing in January. And when she come up here, she said to my mother, she was young yet, she said, well, this is the last time I'm going to be here. So she called upon the lightning and the thunder, and they both came to her, and she said goodbye. And that was the last time, and then she died following that. But that was in 1929 when we came up here. And then we moved away. We moved all different places because our family was broke up. The kids went to different government schools, but I didn't. I was the oldest of the girls, the second to the oldest in the family. My brother and I went out looking for work, but we were all scattered all over the state of Washington. But I believe that's the reason that they stopped coming up here, where they didn't have the money, they didn't have the horses, they didn't have the feed, nothing. You can't describe how it was. There was no food, money, you didn't have money, there was no work. It was a terrible time. And when you did find a job, a couple of years later, you worked for 10 cents an hour. You worked all day for $1. And those jobs were few and far between. That's all I can remember of this place.
You know, a little while ago, Bernice mentioned Lozier. That was my grandfather. It was in probably the early 50s. He wanted me to go for a walk with him. It was hunting season. So he drove up as far as Bottom Hill down Slippery Creek. And he took me for a walk, and we walked clear up here. You know, young fellow like these guys, 13, 14 years old. Had my dad's old rifle with me. I packed. And like I say, it was just a couple of miles, but we walked. By the time we hit the top of the hill, it was time to head back down again. We was up there just for one day, and we headed back down. My butt was dragging when I hit the bottom.
This is our life. This is a part of our history. These are living examples of what took place here on this very ground that you're sitting on. These things that they're telling you, the stories, the things that they were handed down from their elders. The different stories like the one that you heard Blodgett talk about, the elk head up on a hill. They had different stories for all the animals around here. Coyotes, the rabbits, fox, the ravens. They had stories for everything. They sat all the young kids down and they told them about these things, of what they took place in their lives, how these animals gave theirs for the living. The two-legged, what they call us, the human. Those animals gave their life so that we can carry on. This is something that you kids will have to learn. You'll keep this within your heart and your soul the rest of your days that you're here on this earth. This is our mother. Everything that we have, we come up here and pick the berries. They come off these bushes that grow out of the earth. The animals eat these berries, the grasses. It all comes from Mother Earth. She's the one that takes care of us and looks over us. As they said, this is a happy place. This is a happy camp. They come here to enjoy themselves. And as you heard them say, they shared with one another, with everything that they had. They had certain ones that went down there and stayed down there and fished the rivers down below and brought the fresh salmon up here. They had certain ones like Georgie and Blodgett, the younger guys that go out and kill camp meat, deer, elk all around here. And they'd bring it back here. And they'd cook it over these fires and stuff like they said. When they went out and killed something, they didn't take it home and bring it to their camp and keep it for themselves. They shared it with everybody that's here to make sure that they all had something to eat. That's one thing that we're losing now, is the respect for these elders that we have sitting here. The knowledge that they carry here and in here. Take time out of your life. Sit down. Talk with them. Listen to their stories. It's part of our history. Part of our life. All this that's been told here, you'll never see in a book anywhere. I used to get in trouble when I was at school down here in Enumclaw. They'd take me in there and they'd want to teach me history. And I said, this isn't my history. I want to learn my history. I'm Indian. Where's my side of the story? They used to get mad at me and send me out of the room, out in the hall, down to the principal's office. Tell me I'm nothing but a troublemaker. And I said, you guys write all this stuff about the Indians and how they used to call us down. But never once did they go and sit down with the elders to find out from them their side of the story. How many women and children was killed by the white man and everything. How they suffered. The things that they had to live with, like I said, no money, no food. when they went to work was for 10 cents an hour. They couldn't walk up to their parents and stick their hand out and say, I want some money. Can I have some money? They had to work for what they got. And that's the way they still are now. They're trying to teach us through this laughter and through the things that they remember. The language that they speak that we all don't understand. Me, myself, I don't understand it. Maybe one or two words that I picked up from my grandfather and mother. It's something that we're all losing, our heritage, our language. Listen to my grandfather and George and them when they was young and going to school. They used to get beat because they spoke their language. Because the people couldn't understand them. Didn't know what they were saying, if they were talking about them or not. And that's how they communicated with one another. How they spoke, how they shared their food. The government schools that they sent them to, I used to sit there at the table and listen to my grandfather. Said they'd give them salt pork that had worms in it. And they had to eat it in order to survive. A lot of this stuff you'll never read in a book because it's what they don't want brought out. Like this campground here, these trees. Everything here they want to take and log off, flatten out. This doesn't mean nothing to them. All it is a dollar sign standing there. These guys here, these elders that we have sitting here, it's memory. It's stories. It was their part of life when they was growing up. And this is what they're sharing with you today. These things will stay here. You might think that you'll forget them in a day or two. A few years down the road, you'll stop and you'll sit down. Maybe you'll be up here in the hills someplace and you'll remember this day. Oh, I remember when I went to the mountains with the elders. Sat and shared a meal with them. Shared laughter with them. Listened to their stories. And listened to the things they had to say. Might not be next week, might not be next year, could be 10, 15 years from now. But this is something that we have to keep on doing so that we could show you youngsters, the next generation is coming, of what our elders done, how they lived, how they survived from this land, from this Mother Earth. The month they stayed up here and picked berries and dried them. The meat that they dried. And the stuff that they took from here, they took back down to the reservation and they gave away some of it to the people who couldn't make it up here. They were not a selfish people. They shared with everything that they had. They kept what they needed for their families to survive through the winter. That's something that's not here now. Like Dwayne, if he doesn't have nothing, I have it, and I just laugh at him. That's his fault. That's the way it is now. It's not that I could go into my freezer and take stuff out, give it to him. It's the way it should be. Like some of our people that we have down there that are crippled and can't come up here. They wish for this meat. They wish for these berries. Your kids are young. Come up here and pick these berries and take them back down. Give them to the elders, the ones that can't come back up in these hills. Can't make it around to pick the berries. Share with them. The smile that you see on their faces when you hand them those berries is more payment than you could ever get with that green dollar. Because it comes from the heart when you give it to them. It also comes from the heart when they smile and tell you thanks. A lot of them will ask you, how much do I owe you? How much money do you want? What I say when I go down there and I give it to them, I say, I don't want no money. Money don't have no value on it. This is yours. I picked it for you. I come to share with you. I come to give it to you. I don't expect any payment for it. This is something that you kids will have to learn. The only way to learn is to sit and talk with the elders. To share their feelings, to share their knowledge, and to share the love that they have for these hills and everything that comes from these hills.
I know! I thought it was a different one. What is it? It's a locust. It's just a little thing that's just like a grasshopper. Oh, no. They're just like grasshoppers. Except they fly. I got it, Christine, I knew! It's alright, they're just like... they're weird.
Up on Huckleberry Ridge in a meadow next to Mill Springs, our elders taught us that the lands around here, from Mill Springs to Grass Mountain and all the way around here, are areas very important to the history of the Muckleshoot people. The elders taught us that all of this area is important to our way of life now and to the life we want to someday give to our children. For me, this trip was a great moment. There's a lot more to be taught to us in the mountains. I just hope we can keep this area so that we can grow up here as our elders did.
Mule Springs, huh? Remember these come up here.
I'm going with the...
Lower at the water base now.
Worked on it, dug it out. They probably did.
Well, it never used to be a Mule Springs when it first earlier. But when my dad came up here and them sheep herders had mules here, and so he brought up a sign and stuck it up there by the camp there, a mule camp. And after that, they called it Mule Springs. And I never could think of what it had an Indian name for it here. This spring here. That up there where we used to get our drinking water and stuff here. And this down here, around here, somewhere, place we used to have a pool for the horses. You used to wash up down below the spring there, below that. And this spring here, you can walk all over these hills here and you'll never find a spring on top of these hills like this. This is one rare place, maybe you'll find a spring like this, right on top of the hill. You can walk around here for miles and miles, you'll never find a spring that's like this. It's where the Indians camped here. They made this place there like a home. It was just like sacred to them, I guess, for putting up a spring like that here for them to be here. Just like a sacred ground or something for the people. And they'd all come here. I know if you can walk around here for miles and miles, you'll never find a spring on top of the hill like this.
Given that, understanding that the spring, kind of like water has always been the essence of life, and having it here being a rare thing, how would you feel about this place if it was gone, if we couldn't use it anymore? What would that do to us as Native people?
Well, as far as I can see, just bringing them young boys up here and seeing them when they first got in here, you can see that they felt something here. Just like if the old people was here and maybe joined in with them and put something into their heart, a feeling that's left here, like how they was, I guess, when they were kids. Maybe Art can say more.
Well, I'd kind of miss the place. Kind of be our old-timers place that used to live here. I'll sure miss it with all these trees growed out of camp now. They call it the holy water. This creek, spring. But they just to hear them sing around here early in the morning. Like Harold says, you go wash up, open your eyes. Spring opens it for you, so you can find berries, find a deer, whatever you're looking for. Spring will show you where to go. That's what that spring was, of the old people. I don't know, I haven't come here in a long time. Sure changed since I've been here.
Has that changed your feelings about it though?
In lots of ways, yes. It has changed. In my heart. It hurts when it's going to be gone.
Yeah, a lot of old memories is left here in these hills by when I was a kid. I come up here, run around these hills.
You know, a lot of,
Like a place that you can come to this place, and if you're troubled, your mind, it seems like you come to a place like this, and it releases everything.
it's good medicine.
Yes. Yeah, the way I think that the old Indians is still here watching over you. They know when you're in trouble. You come here and they kind of lift you up.
Kind of feel happy. Everything leaves you.
You know, the people who want this to trade this land for warehousing. I worked with those guys for 25 years. I know they don't care about anything. The only thing they're worried about is the big green. All they want is money. They come through here. They don't care. They won't care about this spring, this creek here. They'll come in. They'll just bulldoze it out, pick nothing up. Not like the old people here do. But the feelings in their heart. Yeah, a lot of memories. I know once they get here, it won't be here. When I worked for them probably 20 years ago, where this trail started at the bottom, I walked right over the trail. I didn't think nothing about it. I don't know what I was destroying. But it's gone now. I can see what I helped destroy. I had to live through it.
Franklin, as one of the younger elders here, do you still use this place?
This is only the third time I've ever been up here. First time I walked from Bonham to grandfather.
No,
That was in the 50s.
73 is the last
A
lot of times I thought of coming up here.
Yeah, me too.
I'm coming back.
Never made it.
But the trails were all washed out.
Yeah.
You couldn't make it.
So if there were no gates here, if there was a restricted access, and you had the means to be here, you would be here, right?
Oh, you bet. I'd be up here eating berries. Maybe cooking fish or deer meat or something.
Yeah.
Oh, I would. I know how to do that. I see them do it. But drive berries even, maybe do that too. I don't know. I've seen that.
You know, these young people, I don't think they believe sometime in about what the old people used to do, say wash your face and clean up yourself before you get out into the daylight, and when it's daylight. Come down here early in the morning when it's just getting daylight. Wash up, and then you'll walk out into the world, and you'll be covered and protected. That's what the old people says, and I believe what they said. Because
Yeah, many times we washed there.
Yeah.
Yeah, we washed there. Yeah, that's right.
They had ways of knowing things.
Messengers. There was messengers up here without going anywhere. By the birds and animals. Even the horses give you a message up here. How do you know it? I don't know.
See, you can hear them kids now. They feel something out
Oh,
there
yeah.
hollering around.
It could be gambling.
Mhm.
That's what it used to go on here.
If they went to some other place that there wasn't like this here, they probably wouldn't be hollering around like that. It's just a feeling you get when you get there.
Too many, if you go down to town, there's too many distractions. You don't get that natural feeling like you do up here, right?
Right.
This place that was settled here Indians settled here, and it's still hearing it. The
Spring
feelings
water.
and
Spring water still there.
the feelings that the old people left here are still here.
Is it really important that your grandchildren know this place and are able to have those same things passed down to you?
I think that'd be the best thing. I think that'd be the best thing in the world because
They'll live healthier. One thing, get away from all that.
they'll
junk
know
down.
they'll know where to go if they were troubled, if their
Yeah, right.
mind was troubled, if they come here, then to get released. Just like if you pray, I get you like a church. Like if you pray with this is just like a church or something.
When
The spirit is here.
when the men are out hunting, and, the women are picking berries. What do the kids do?
Yeah.
Some of us gather wood.
Yeah, that was the main thing. We just have to run around these hills and
Gather
see
wood.
these old logs laying around,
Yeah.
them knots in there. You just
Yeah.
have to get a great big sack and sack them up and
Bring them up here.
pack them to the camp.
Lots of that work to be done.
Was it the grandparents who watched the kids most
No.
at the camp?
No, they're all out picking, but the kids have their work cut out to get wood.
Yeah, to run around to these old rotten logs, it's them little knots and stuff that go in that rotten logs. They pick them out there and burn them down in the camp. That's what they use for wood.
Just dig a hole in the ground and put rocks for a fireplace.
Did they use forest products up here, like cedar bark,
Oh,
things like that, to make baskets up here? Or would they just take it here and take it back down the mountain with them? Or?
I don't think there was any cedar and stuff up here to make baskets and stuff. Bear grass, I guess they made baskets under that.
Yeah, grass. And there was no trail out up here. You could
No.
climb through.
No.
They made baskets for that. And some of them picked up their, what you got down below, the cedar, these fibers. They put down camps around down the bottom.
How many places like this are left around here?
Oh, there's lots of them. I couldn't name all of them.
But I mean, after they've logged a bunch of the places, is this like one of the only ones left around here?
This place here wasn't logged here. This was kind of was burned off before when the berries and stuff were on out in here. And this was just a big campsite here.
I mean, since this one wasn't logged, is this like one of the last ones left that the old people camped at?
No, there was one on the other side over there called Gut Mountain.
That's a big
camped
place.
up there.
It's another big place. Big camp.
Is there anywhere else besides that?
Well, there used to be places on up this.
Twin camps, Bone Lake, Scatty
All must be all along this hill all the way up that way.
Yeah.
So you travel through the trails all the way up that way.
There's a camp down this way too. Camp about there it is. Down this way.
Grass Mountain.
Grass Mountain.
You go right along that little way up again.
And there's all along the mountain there's camps. Not as big as this is the biggest one of the whole camps of the Indians. The biggest. Use camp there around this place.
On account of this water here, I guess, because there's always cold water.
Is this one of the last places where they still have huckleberries around this area?
No, they're all over. There's some over by
There ain't as many huckleberries here as there used to be. All the place growed up where they picked huckleberries, just over the hill there. It's all nothing trees like this and all the huckleberries out of there. I didn't go over there and look, but I imagine that's just like it is here. Huckleberries couldn't get out in the kind of open like.
Like what Bernice said when the berries and trees would get too big and they wouldn't get ripe, there'd be very few of them, and they start a fire. That's how they made their huckleberry patches. They'd burn it off, like you said, a year or two, and then they'd come back and have huckleberries all around them. That's where a lot of this stuff is up here. Here tell the stories from my grandfather and what Blodgett and them were talking about. Some of the fires that they built got carried away, burned up more than they expected. They had a whole bunch of berries then.
Sitting up there on the banks of Mule Springs, Bena, one of the elders, told all of us about how, when the people used to come up here, they gathered medicine which wasn't found anywhere else. Celery root was good for sore throats for the singers, and they used a lot of bear grass to make the patterns on the baskets. Bena remembers coming up here with Starr, who's the grandfather of a lot of Muckleshoot kids. Bena remembered coming up to Bone Lake, going about 5 or 6 miles from Mule Springs. She also remembered going up the Slippery Creek Trail, straight up the mountain.
On what?
Blodgett took some of us over to one of the old Muckleshoot campgrounds in the trees by Mule Springs. He pointed out where the other campgrounds were near where his family's campground was. He found a tree stump where he used to play as a kid and tie up his horse. We asked him if his initials were carved in the tree, but he said no, because he would have been punished for cutting the tree. He reminded us that everything has a spirit here. The birds, the horses, the trees. The spirit is here.
It might be that if the land exchange goes through, the law might say the lands going to Weyerhaeuser would no longer be open and unclaimed lands like it says in our treaty. These lands would be owned by a private timber company, so the land would be private land. When our ancestors signed the treaty, they didn't see any difference regarding who officially owned the land as long as the land was still forested and open with no houses. Fences didn't mean anything to the bear, the cougar, the deer, or the elk, to the medicines which we gather. According to our treaty, which our people signed with the federal government, the Muckleshoots are supposed to be able to have access to these lands that we ceded to the federal government, so we can still hunt, fish, and practice our own religions and live by our own culture as long as these lands are open and managed for the forest.
If Weyerhaeuser gets ownership of these lands, the company plans to log as much of this old timber that the state regulations will allow. The tribe's access to all of this land, if allowed at all, would have to work around Weyerhaeuser's logging. We all are wondering how all of this cutting will affect the deer and elk and the tribe's fisheries around here. We are also worried that the federal government did not protect our cultural sites up in Huckleberry Ridge and all around here before they started making deals with the timber company.
There's supposed to be a federal trust responsibility between the treaty tribes and the federal government. I'm not sure if the Forest Service knows what that means.
We have already seen so many forests cut down for money, so many broken promises to our people. Huckleberry Ridge is one of our last areas. The elders today reminded me to see through the eye in my heart, to remember who I am, and to teach the children.
You can see what trees is left out there, and too many left out there now. But Weyerhaeuser wants it, and if Weyerhaeuser gets it, they'll log it. what we want to do is try to stop them from places like you've been here today. Maybe you felt feelings about just going in there where the old people used to be, and I noticed when I came in there, here were hooping around back there, and that used to go on, and it's the same thing when you young people come in here. You had the same feeling that the old people had here. And that feeling will always be here, as long as you live. If you had a chance to come here, you could come up here and relieve yourself. You have troubles, your mind is hurting in mind or something, you come up here and it'll seem to just leave you, just like lifting from you, something.
In other words, it's all sacred up here.
All sacred.
Water and all.
Mm.
That's why they said always go down that spring first thing in the morning and wash up. Then you'll feel good the rest of the day. You'll open your qalb, your eyes, to see the world, see what's here, and see the things before you. I just hope that this place can stay here, so all the little grandchildren like these young ones around here could come back here and maybe come up here and go into that place and camp, or all come up in there and make a big camp in there and camp for a couple, 3 nights or so, and have bone games and stuff like they used to have here. Just meet there, whether they pick berries or not. Just to come up there and have fun. That'll take them away from a lot of stuff down in town that bothers them and distracts them from everything else. Kind of help them out and give them strength to go on, seeing life as it is. They might feel better.
Well,